COT data report for the 28th of the 8th 2023, and we have to remember before I talk about all the data and stuff that this data is from Tuesday, so we have to remember there has been some stuff that's happened since Tuesday. You know, the Jackson Hole risk event, and we had the durable goods, and we had all that US data and things. We also had a Lagarde speech on Friday night as well. So that obviously things had happened since Tuesday, but all we can do is just simply report on the data that was available to us. So if the cutover is Tuesday night, that's all we can do. We can just have to report from Tuesday night, and obviously things had happened since. Okay, so the euro ticked down, likewise with the USD. So this is nothing really that interesting from the euro USD currency pair perspective, in so much as that they declined 159 to 158. We saw a decline of 4,991 to 4,489. So it's a small decrease. Let's look at yen. And well, okay, so we're more negative than the week prior. Minus 80,000, minus 95,000. So it's a big decrease. So quite bearish in so much as that we're well below zero, and they've added over time. Okay, so we've still got these supports, so they're important. If we break these supports, it's possibly going to get quite ugly. You know, we have to look at the yen bubble as well on the sentiment, and the dumb money are long on the yen, while the smart money, the banks and institutions, they're selling. So it looks a little bit ominous for yen currently, in so much as that the herd are long and the smart guys are selling. So be careful there. It's a sort of a bad combination, so much as that if the retail guys are doing one thing, that's normally an omen. If the smart money are doing the opposite, that reinforces that idea. So you've got to be careful with yen this week, okay? But we have got supports, so they might come into play. We'll take off the euro, look at Aussie. Aussie has been chopping so much. Okay, so we're sort of breaking down a little bit. 63, 43, 53, 63. So we're coming down in chunks. Likewise with the yen, we're also coming down. And also you could argue the dollar is also ticking down too. So there's a little bit of a mixed affair so far. Take off Aussie. Look at the pound. I imagine the pound's probably quite strong. It's still quite strong. 47, 50, 59. Yeah, so that's interesting. So there's the GU buy set up here, back on that date. Back here on that date when we had the crossover. That particular date we would have bought the pound against USD, and it would have done quite well. We would have probably made a few hundred pips on that move on the crossover. So the pound is of note. So that's, you know, we're positive, but well above the zero line, and we're more positive than the week prior. So the pound should probably do okay this week. CAD on. CAD drooped, and we have fallen since. We can see we've got a decline in that data from last week, and it looked like we were going to get the dollar CAD set up, but the smart money, the big fish and the banks, they sold the CAD, and so it looked like we were going to get a dollar CAD trade idea, but they didn't want to, they weren't interested, and the CAD was sold off. So that could have been a dollar CAD trade opportunity, but unfortunately we didn't get the confirmation because we had the crossover to the downside. Right, so that's that. So there's no trade set up there, so it's a good job we did wait. That was going to be potentially a good trade, but we've got to follow what the big fish are doing. We have to watch what they're doing. We don't want to be fighting the banks, for example. CAD off. Look at gold quickly. Gold sold off. It's just really interesting. 164, 121. Wow, blimey. 101. So we've come a long way off the highs. So it looks like we might be coming down to that support, 98. Yeah, so we need to be keeping an eye on this area of support by next weekend, where we do the video for, you know, the following week, next Sunday. Ideally that would need to hold. If we don't, then we'll be coming down here. looks like we're going to probably be quite bearish on gold if we're going to break this support. And we have to remember that the US Treasury yields have been rising and pumping and pumping and pumping for weeks on end. Because of that, it's putting a bit of pressure on gold. And obviously the yields are a favoured safe haven over the gold because the yields will pay interest. Right, this won't necessarily pay you any interest for trading it, but the US Treasury yields will pay you quite handsomely for putting your money in government bonds. So that's the preferred safe haven over gold, and this is why gold's really not doing so well. So keep an eye on that support next weekend, okay? So if we break that, it's going to be fairly bearish. I might look to short gold, I think, next weekend for the following week, but that would need to break. So gold off, and then I guess we'll look at Kiwi, but we'll be sideways and choppy probably. Yeah. We did try and go into positive territory, and we're back below. So just sideways and pretty nasty, choppy. It looked like we were going to get the New Zealand dollar USD set up for a crossover, but the banks were like, no, we're not really that interested in the Kiwi, and then they sold it, and they have sold it since, and then another sell off there. So that's the Kiwi, so nothing there. Nearly had another crossover, but they're like, no, not really that interested. We'd rather hold dollars over New Zealand dollars. And so that's that logic there. They weren't interested in that setup. And Swiss franc, and then that's today's video. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? And sideways choppy. Now, if you wanted to get access to this data file, you'd need Excel. And also you'd need to be either a server booster in Discord, or you need to be a Patreon subscriber, and it's for bulletin tier and above. So it's available, but you'll need to subscribe to the server booster role in Discord or the bulletin tier in Patreon, and then you can get access to this. And then what's cool about it is that you can look at any permutation. So I know a lot of people trade Aussie Euro, and that maybe that's all they trade, right? But they might be interested in the dollar as well. So, you can look at different permutations and get setups, buy sell setups, for example. And then potentially could have been a trade opportunity there. Potentially, we didn't get quite the crossover, but we know that the euro was stronger than the Aussie at that point, so you could have used that for a setup. And then you can look at any permutation, which is really cool. So that's today's video. Any questions, let me know. And if you want to become a server booster, you'd be more than welcome, because we're so close to the next tier. I think we're about 3 boosts away in Discord. So if you want to join us on the server booster role, that would be amazing. But it's completely up to you. And it's only 3.5 euros a month. So it's quite cheap, quite affordable. And you get access to this COT data report as well. And you can have it on your own computer, and you can play around with it and stuff. And it's not just the net non-coms. You can look at hedge funds and commercials, and you've even got like a chart thing here as well, which is quite cool. You look at your weekly changes. It's got a delta summary overview as well, so the changes from the week prior. It's really cool. So hopefully you have a good day, and I'll speak to you guys tomorrow for the daily bulletin video.